Tournaments. A great way for people to test their mettle against other contestants, showing all the preparation, hard work, and dedication they put in towards this competition. Tournaments in any medium, whether that be through chess, video games, or even martial arts, are something that a lot of people enjoy being a part of and enjoy seeing. That's no different when you're looking at the medium of anime. I feel like most people's favorite anime at one point or another has an amazing or just an outright cool tournament arc within it. It's a great way for characters to get to showcase their time skip abilities they have from a training arc, or even just introduce new characters and cool concepts into a show. Now, there is a show that I recently watched through the recommendation of one of my friends that I wanted to discuss because it was one of those anime where I thought it had a lot of potential, but it really kind of left me disappointed near the end, and I thought I should give my thoughts on it. Now, let's sit down and discuss my thoughts on the 2017 anime Juni Taisen Zodiac War. Roll the intro.
You're now watching The Captain.
So Juni Taisen is an anime that I had a lot of hope for after watching the first episode, because the first episode, in my opinion, was really dope. But as I went through the show, episode by episode, I was getting more and more and more disappointed. This has a little bit of a hole that I think certain shows like A Reckon or Ragnarok has, that I feel like stops it from being great. And most of that has to do with a lot of the lack of depth. And we'll get into that here in a moment. But before I get into a lot of the details around this show, I want to give you guys just a brief synopsis of what this show is and what you can expect when you're watching, if you want to watch it. So the show takes place in a world where every 12 years, there's this deadly tournament that is held, and it has a prize of one wish that can be granted. And essentially all these different, very powerful, influential tycoons or dictators, different people around the world bet on this tournament. They send in their most deadliest assassins or warriors to go compete in this tournament, and they must do their best to win this tournament on behalf of the people betting. And it's pretty much just this big form of entertainment for people that are rich. So think like Squid Games combined with like Record or Ragnarok for the most part. And it's again, it's a fun concept, and I think it has a lot of potential from the outside looking in. But we're going to get into some of the difficulties we have here. So within these group of warriors, there are 12 that are utilized, and each 12 are based on the 12 Chinese zodiac: the rat, the ox, the tiger, the rabbit, the dragon, the snake, the horse, the sheep, the monkey, the chicken, dog, and the boar. They are all very distinct characters. This is probably one of the more strong points of the anime that I think it has. All 12 of these characters have some form of a cool backstory and very different, unique things about them that make you honestly care about them more. And it's very interesting because as you get into the anime to start off with, you come to understand that for the most part, most of these people in this tournament aren't really good people. They're pretty much villains. But the good thing about that makes any good villain is that they're not just evil for the sake of being evil. Sometimes you have some good villains who are like that, where they're just agents of chaos, which I think there's one in this anime in particular. But for the most part, the people that are in here have this backstory that puts them in an environment that cultivates who they are. I think for the best possible example there is for me is someone like the chicken in this anime. The chicken was this girl who had this very traumatic childhood that caused her to murder both of her parents, and it kind of left her messed up in the head to where she went about being very much so like a cold-blooded killer and spy for the government for a long time. As you're going through her backstory, you're starting to feel for her, and then as she's interacting with other characters, you start to see her development and her come back around, and her getting a little bit more humanized makes her a little bit more weak, honestly, in the series. But seeing that come about and seeing this kind of similarly with other characters was really dope to see. Like each episode when we got to see them, we got a backstory on each character, and that was probably one of the best things. I think literally the best story to me that was kind of twisted and sick outside of the chicken was probably the boar, and that was the first episode you see her in. And that's probably why I was so hyped about this show when I first started watching it, because the first episode started off so strong, because you're seeing the boar do this really dark thing where essentially in the boar's backstory, she is the daughter of this family who has a lot of cachet. This family has a lot of cachet because they are the family that is traditionally chosen to represent the boar in this tournament. So her father was the winner of the last Juni Taisen, and now the next competitor is going to be on her or her little sister. She seems to be lacking in some areas in regards to being a killer and being a proper contestant here, and she has a lot of jealousy when her younger sister, who has a kind of a little minor affliction for killing animals is chosen. So you kind of see that she has a big thing about killing initially. She then does something very twisted, and you see her character like almost do this, not 180, but like take this really dark turn to where she is going about tormenting her sister. She follows her sister to school, and she's like separating her from her friends and her high school crushes, and she's making her sister kill like religiously for her training every day. And she's masking it as her assisting her sister with preparing for the Juni Taisen, but she's just like slowly mentally breaking her because she knows that as a young girl and her sister, she's not necessarily prepared to deal with all that death. So every day, or pretty frequently in the anime, she's making her kill somebody or kill in a really tragic way all the time. And as her sister is killing people, you're starting to see like her mental stability kind of break down to the point to where she literally just becomes the definition of a killing machine. Like I think there's a scene to where the family comes home one day and they see the daughter at the top of the staircase having killed all the maids and all the servants within the house. Now, that being the case, we obviously can't send her in this tournament that requires a lot of strategy and whatnot, so they lock the daughter away, hopefully looking to give her some kind of a medical assistance at some point. The older sister then does the dark thing by sliding the younger sister a knife, convincing her to end her own life so that she doesn't have to take place in the Juni Taisen and that the older sister can go in her place. Obviously, that happens and she ends up in the tournament, and seeing that was sick. So following all that dark shit that she did with her sister, you love to hate this character. Seeing her do that and corrupt her sister and like torment somebody, it makes you really excited to see her get her comeuppance within this tournament, or at least see what she does to other people in this tournament, because she's a really dope character. You get the idea or the feeling that she's going to be around for a while, which is probably one of the better things with this anime, because they make you get attached to certain characters early on, and then they get rid of them in a shock value way. Now this gets old really, really fast because it's kind of done on a repeat and they kind of spam it. But for this first episode, it was amazingly done, because you have this character that you love to hate. You saw them do evil stuff. You saw her be very arrogant, and you saw her playing out the different ways she's going to handle certain situations. And when she gets killed from a strategic manner. So if you look at something like Naruto early on, there are characters who have particular skill sets in jutsu that aren't necessarily broken per se in that moment, but what makes them broken is the way that they're utilized in the strategy and how you catch people off guard and catch them by surprise. In this anime, in the first episode with the character of the rabbit, it was done very, very well. And I think for the rabbit, for the most part throughout this anime, has a very cool way of utilizing his abilities as a necromancer, essentially, with taking people by surprise. So after watching the first episode, I'm locked in. I'm like, hey bro, this shit's gonna give me something cool as fuck to see. It gave me a dope backstory. It gave me a menacing evil character, and she died in a way that was interesting and that was in a strategic manner that showed a lot of layers to the writing. It showed a lot of depth and care is taken into the abilities of a character initially, in regards to the rabbit character, who's a necromancer, and the boy character, who we love to hate in this first episode. But that is where things start to go downhill. I feel like this anime has a issue of repetition and trying to be it tried to do too much. I'll put it like that, for lack of a better term. I can't really describe what I'm trying to say right now, but it'll come back to me later, more than likely. But for ease of this video, it was trying to do too much. As you will go through each episode, it will run back the same model as the first episode, where you get a character who's going to be emphasized for the episode, and you get a backstory on what makes that character leading up to that point. Now, that is something that I don't necessarily mind too much, because you're in a tournament anime. With each fight, you're probably going to have to see how these characters have gotten to this point thus far. So you'll get the flashback backstory, and that'll lead them into where they are now. Where I don't really like this is the whole aspect of, one, it is a repetitive writing model. If you want to go about showing a character's backstory, I feel like you need to do it in multiple ways, especially when you have a tournament to where each character is going to match up and follow the same model of, we'll match up, we fight, that's it. Especially in the anime like this, to where you're going to be killing off people in a very shock value way. And I think that's probably the thing that annoyed me the most, is that you would have this repetitive nature of showing the backstory, and then it would kill off that character in damn near that same episode, if not the episode directly following it, in another shock value way. And sometimes these shock value deaths weren't even that interesting in my opinion. Like, it was a lot of just a stab to the chest. Like, literally, I watched 2 or 3 characters that were supposed to be significant characters, at least they were presented in that way, get stabbed in the chest by the rabbit character, and they died that way. Like, it was just a stab to the chest. There wasn't any like tension build up to it. There wasn't any like gruesomeness to it. It was just that. And I'm not going to get too mad on the gore thing, but it annoys me where there are moments to where there is really hardcore gory kills, and then the rest of the kills are really just like a singular stab, and they're really just clean. And I understand that was written into the plot, but I feel like that just got kind of lazy as time went on, and I really, episode by episode, was getting more and more disappointed in how the anime was going. So first off, like I mentioned before, the repetitive model of the storytelling and the lackluster deaths were probably the biggest 2 things that really made me disappointed in this. And I want to dive a little bit more into the lackluster deaths for certain characters, because this really annoys me even further, because in these backstories we would get, you would see all the possibilities of characters that had chances to be really strong or have really great fights potentially, but just didn't. Say what you want to say about Record of Ragnarok, but I will say that the fights that they're usually in are pretty entertaining, and I don't get sold short, I feel like, on seeing a character being hyped up and then seeing them fight. There's one death in this show that probably is the pinnacle of, and the prime example of why I'm so disappointed with this show, and it is the death of the Horse character in this anime. Horse is presented as this character who is a pacifist, and he has a unbreakable defense. Like, at one point in the anime, we see a character who is perceived to be a character who has the strongest offense in the Ox, who is like a literal killing machine, and he is the most unstoppable offense that we see in the show. At least everybody in the show talks about how unstoppable he is as an offense. And then we get into the Ox, to where he is a pacifist and he has the most impenetrable defense. We see them clash. We know from that combat that the Ox is definitely stronger than the Horse, but he makes it away, which is something that the Ox talks about in regards to not many people being able to do. Now, the thing that annoys me the most, and first and foremost about that, is the fact that we didn't get to see much of that fight. Most of that fight happened off screen while we were jumping back and forth around different characters and getting introduced to different characters. So first and foremost, that annoys me. There is no instance in which it wouldn't be dope to see an unstoppable force meet an immovable object. That's just something to see in any anime, in any story, period. Secondly, when we move into the Horse and this impenetrable defense and seeing why he's a pacifist and seeing why he is the way he is, I would assume there's definitely going to be this dope fight where we get to see him get pushed to the limits. That being said, you would think maybe there's going to be this dope fight where he has to fight off the Ox again, or maybe even the Rabbit, who is shown to be probably the most deadly character in the tournament by that point. Right, you'd assume he's going to have some kind of dope moment in the series, right? Because when you have a character who has an impenetrable defense, he has to die or has to live in a very dope way, right? You would assume that. How do you think he dies? I'll give you a second. Oh, wait, go ahead, guess. No, you're wrong. He fucking dies from monoxide poisoning, essentially. He is locking himself in a vault because he doesn't want to fight anybody, and he sits there. Even after a character breaks in there without him knowing and talks to him and then leaves, you think he had the idea, oh, I should probably try to leave this vault. No, he sits in there and proceeds to bunker down because he doesn't want to fight anybody. He's acting, and for being quite frankly, excuse my French, like a bitch. He is acting like a bitch because he doesn't want to fight anyone. He wants to stay away from things. And I understand you wrote him being a pacifist in here. I think there is a difference between someone being a pacifist and not wanting to fight, and them being a bitch, where they're running away from all confrontation. Like, defend yourself. And again, it's annoying as fuck because we just were told or saw bits and pieces of this fight to where he fought one of the top 3 strongest people in the series and survived. So why are we now watching this man cry and bunker down in this vault? Because at that point, there's no need for me to see his backstory. You give me his entire backstory and show that he's improving his body so that he can be a combatant, just to then flash forward into a moment where he's cowering in fear against everyone else. And then when he has a chance to fight someone, he, one, is scared at this kid who's just talking to him, and then 2, when he dies from someone just setting a fire in the vault or in the bank that the vault's sitting in. Like, literally, there's no fight that happens, there's no big cool moment. legit a character comes in with a flamethrower, sets the building on fire, and then leaves, and Buddy dies because he can't get out of the vault because he runs out of oxygen. And then after he runs out of oxygen, he just burns to death. That death is probably the most annoying death that I've seen in an anime in a very long time. Probably one of the more annoying, useless deaths since like Neji from Naruto Shippuden, where you just kill a character off in an unceremonious way just cause. Like there could have been a bigger build up to it. You could have, if you really wanted to kill this character, you could have set him off on a higher note, but no, you just have him just die in the most unceremonious way possible. And that shit annoys me so much. Like I had a lot of hope for the series, and I was starting to get, broken down and kind of getting more deprecative and looking at the show as it went on. But that death, that moment, that's where I'm like, okay, yeah, this show's cooked. There's no redeeming quality of it. And up until the point I finished it, the writing pretty much for the most part stayed that disappointing and consistently disappointing as I watched through the rest of it. So that is a show in a nutshell. It is backstory, disappointing death, all the way into the end of the series to where you then get the final character who won. And I'm not too mad about who won. I figured this person who won would be the person that would win. But when we get into his final wish, literally watch this man discuss and delineate over the best ways to utilize his wish. And again, when I say anything, this wish seems like it works damn near like the Dragon Balls from Dragon Ball Z, to where you can wish for damn near anything and anything can happen. Like the guy thinks about potentially making everybody in his class disappear, or maybe bringing people back to life. He can do anything with this wish. And he becomes so flustered by the possibility of choosing anything to the point where he's driven mad, and he just asked for the ability to forget he even had the wish in the first place. So at that point, I watched all these people compete, all these people die. For what? For what reasoning? For what payoff? And I understand that some shows have things where they want to subvert your expectation of an ending. Like everything doesn't have to be a happy ending, but damn it, everything doesn't have to be too high concept. I feel like in certain shows like this, people try their best to try to be different and try to be very pretentious in a sense, to where we have to be so high concept. Bro, you have a tournament anime. You don't have to be super different. You give me good characters with good backstories, great fights with cool moments, I'm good. I don't need too much. I don't need you to be Parasite the Maxim that's so introspective and looking at the meaning of life in a tournament anime. If you can pull that off, cool, pull it off, but that requires a certain level of writing and management I don't think people on this show had, honestly. Now, I haven't read the manga, so I don't know if the manga for this anime is just a lot better or if the story is significantly different in any form or fashion, but watching this anime, I was just highly disappointed, bro. Those are just my thoughts on the anime. If I had to rank it, I'd probably give this thing like a smooth like 5 out of 10. Like it was a cool watch. I finished it. I didn't struggle to finish the anime, but it just left me really disappointed. And it makes me even more sad, and this is probably the main reason why I'm even doing the video on it, because for the most part, y'all know I try not to do videos on things that I don't like. I'm doing a video on this because it has a lot of potential. Like the characters in this were the strongest part of it. I loved all 12 characters of the Zodiac within this show. I don't think there is a super weak character in this entire lineup. I think they all had cool things about them and an interesting backstory about them. Outside of the rabbit, because we didn't really even get a backstory on the rabbit for the most part. He was just a force of nature there, which again, I can understand having a character like that in there just to spice things up. I understand. But everybody else were interesting characters with a lot of depth, and they were well-rounded, but they just didn't shine. And the crazier thing about it is that all the abilities and the skill sets that these characters had were cool as fuck and pretty unique for the most part. Like one character in Monkey, who I assumed would be a strong ass character and be around for a while, she could like transmute matter in an instance and was a master hand-to-hand combatant. Like literally we saw a moment where she chopped a big boulder in half by changing a piece of it into a grain of sand, almost like Gaara, and then cutting the rock. It was like cool shit like that throughout the show, or like characters with poison bites, or characters who control birds and were able to use birds as weapons. It was a lot of dope moments, but at the end of the day, it was just lackluster death and lackluster writing. But Again, all in all, like I said before, I gave it a 5 out of 10. You guys let me know what you think about this anime in the comment section below. Are you interested in checking this out? Have you watched it? Have you read the manga? Give me your thoughts and sentiments in the comment section below. And again, this has been Captain Diesel of Captain Diesel's Dojo. And if you guys want to see any other content I produced about anime, whether that be over isekai or any of the dope anime that I have discussed up to this point, like my Dragon Ball hot take video that's coming out very soon, you guys can click the link that is going to pop up here or somewhere on the screen that will have it linked below, so you guys can just click on that video. But if not, again, this has been Captain Diesel of Captain Diesel's Dojo. I will see you guys in the next video. Peace. Be good people.